So I'd like to introduce Kara Vogt, who is the UBC Dietetics Education Coordinator, and she'll be doing just providing a brief update on the UBC program.
All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me above all the equipment here. I'm a little bit shorter than Teresa, but I'm standing on my tippy toes. So thank you for the introduction, and so wonderful to see you all today. And I wish I could see you a little bit more clearly on the video conference sites. You're just tiny little heads from where I can see. But we had a great registration uptake from the video conference site, so it's great that everyone was able to join us across the province. So as you can see from the first slide there, I am filling in for Tamar Kafka this year. And if you've ever met Tamar, you might think, that picture kind of looks like her. We do look a little eerily similar, so you won't even notice the difference this year. So just a quick little run through of the brief update that I'm going to do for everyone before we get into the main event of our two speakers this afternoon. We do have some gift cards to give away, and how that works is we do a draw of the remote sites that we weren't able to provide lunch for as kind of our way to even the playing field just a little bit. I know it's not the same, but we try. So I'll quickly announce the winners for the gift cards, and then I have a few updates to share just from the perspective of the program. And of course, we'll add some thank yous in there because I didn't pull together today all by myself. There were a lot of other people who helped out that I'm very grateful to. So just a little primer about the gift card draw. So what I did was I randomly selected, used a website called random.org to pick 15 winners from all of our registrants at the video conference sites. And I will note that if you're not there, you can't win. So I'll leave it to the remote sites to decide if the winner isn't in the room, you can do a draw amongst yourselves from who is actually present. And just a little note at the bottom there that if you can just, to the remote site hosts, if you can let me know by email the mailing addresses of the winners, I will send out those gift cards after the event. So without further ado, I've just flashed up the slide here with the winners. Congratulations, everyone. I won't actually go through and read all the names, but I'll just leave it up for a few seconds. And when I send out the event evaluation, I'll just send this slide out as well, just in case you weren't able to catch your name on the first go-round. So those were our winners for the gift cards. Congratulations. You'll be seeing that in the mail, hopefully within the next few weeks. So moving on to just some updates that I wanted to share today of what's been going on. Since we met about this time last year for the Preceptor event, I wanted to start off by just sharing some things that have changed in the campus component of the program with the curriculum. So you may recall last year we noticed there was a new business course on the horizon, and it actually has been implemented for students this year. FNH 415 is the course, and Laura Cullen is the instructor. So we're really excited about that, to be able to get the next generation of students coming through the program a little bit more equipped with some business skills. And that course replaces Commerce 329. I don't know if any of you remember that course from your time in the UBC program. I see some nods. Hasn't been the most well-received course over the years, so I think we're excited that we're trying a different approach for the students of the future. So that's FNH 415. Another update I wanted to share that we've shared in other venues as well, so this might not be news to you, is we've done a pilot project to redesign the FNH 480 course, which is the one-credit professional practice course that all the fourth-year students take prior to starting their internships. So all of the current interns this year have just taken this newly designed course in May 2014. So it was a neat initiative that we were able to carry out with some funding from a Teaching and Learning Enhancement Fund grant. It's a great opportunity that we were able to take advantage of at UBC, and we were able to employ some very competent dietetic students to help us redesign this course. And the whole crux of wanting to redesign it was to, instead of sort of just delivering the wealth of information to try and prepare people for internship, we were wanting to put the autonomy in the students' hands to get them to identify what they needed to know for internship. And so they've created some really neat resources for themselves that we're evaluating this year to see if it actually is a useful way for them to create content that they think they need to orient themselves, and then if they actually do end up accessing it, during their internship year. I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in my update, but that's sort of the general idea of how we redesigned that course, and we're working on evaluating how that went over the year for the next round of F&H 480, which will happen next May. So that's what's happening there. And then the last thing on the curriculum front is we've just gone to what we would call sort of restricted electives. So in the past, we've allowed students to take any electives that they wanted as part of their degree to satisfy their credits that they need to get for elective courses. And we've just tightened that up just a little bit so that students are actually choosing electives that are a little bit more relevant to their future practice as dietitians. So we've created a list of electives that seem to fit what our education needs are for the profession. So students will be taking courses that are hopefully more relevant to when they actually do enter the profession. So like there are several counseling courses. There are many others as well, but that's an example of some of the courses we thought might be more valuable for students to be choosing as electives. So that's what's going on in the curriculum front. And moving on to the internship front, you may have remembered that in January of this year, we sent out a rather comprehensive survey to preceptors, also to our internship coordinators and our interns to get some feedback on the new modules and forms that were a big undertaking that were implemented for this past internship year. So there was lots of wonderful feedback that came through in the surveys that we did in January. So we've been furiously trying to work on updating the modules and forms for this internship year. So that's sort of what we were working on over the summer. And I just wanted to just open the invitation that we are definitely welcoming your feedback. It's probably easiest just to email myself or to email Carol if you are noticing things as you're using the module forms this year. We try to kind of update them on an annual basis. So definitely if you're noticing things this year that you think we could improve upon, feel free to send that feedback our way. And I wanted to touch on just a few key things that we ended up doing this summer that'll be relevant to your experience as preceptors around the formatting and the assessment scale. So I'm going to go over that in a little bit more detail, and then I'll just point you to a nice summary document that's a bit more comprehensive of all the changes that we made this summer. So I didn't want to go through at length everything today because that's not really the focus of today's event. So I'm hoping that you can see this in decent quality, especially at the remote sites. So I just grabbed a screenshot from one of our forms. One of the pieces of feedback that came through quite a bit in the survey was that just the look and the formatting of the forms was really difficult to follow because you kind of have to look horizontally, and then there were some vertical pieces. So it was really just helpful to hear that the format of how the forms were laid out wasn't terribly helpful. So we've tried our best to improve upon that. So this is just one example of one competency that you can see bolded and underlined at the top there. And so all the learning activities that we would expect an intern to experience are those check boxes that kind of run across the page. And then we've kind of moved the sort of section where you would assess and make comments to the bottom. So you're always going to see competency and then check boxes and then a place for comments and assessment right at the bottom. So we're hoping that that'll be a little bit easier to navigate in terms of moving through the form and looking competency by competency. So that's what we've tried for this year. And as I mentioned, we're very open to hearing if that actually works better for you or if you have any further suggestions. And then the other thing I just wanted to touch on today is how we've gone about redesigning the actual rating scales that interns give themselves and that preceptors give to interns. So we got some really valuable feedback that the way that we had it before with the satisfactory and the good delineation particularly, it was really challenging for individuals to understand, well, what really is the difference between satisfactory and good when you're trying to assign a performance rating for an intern. So we did our best. We went through many thinking and planning sessions of what language might be a little bit more clear. So this is what we came up with here. So I'll just read it out in case you can't quite see it, but you'll see this on every single module form. So a 1 would be does not meet criteria, major performance gaps. So that would be really, they're not meeting the competency, would be a 1. And then the 2 and the 3, in both of those areas, you're really indicating that, yes, this intern has met this competency. And a 2 reads meets criteria, minor performance gaps. And a 3 is meets criteria, no identified performance gaps. So we're hoping that that language is a little bit more straightforward. And through every single competency that you'll see on each form, it does guide you back to this rating scale. And this page actually has a lot more information on it. I just didn't show it all up on the screen. But there is a whole page that gives you some pointers as to how do you actually decide if someone is a 1, 2, or 3. What kind of criteria are we all meant to be working from? And that's page 2 of every single module. So that's where you'll consistently find that information. So that's a pretty major change for this year that we're hoping will be a little bit more straightforward than last year. But again, sometimes you don't know until you try. So let us know how it goes. So I just pointed out those 2 things that I would consider to be fairly major changes, but we do actually have a quick document that summarizes all the changes that we implemented for this year. So I've put the link up there for you and the specific place where you will actually find the document. So the general dietetics internship documents link is there. And then if you go to number 1, internship modules and forms, and then into the overview documents folder, that's where you'll find the summary document that captures everything that we actually changed this year. And then also, some of you may have already come across this because we've been advertising them over the last year, but we had some great students working on a project to create some videos to orient to the modules and forms. So those can also be found on the website, and they're on the Preceptor tab. And unfortunately, we created the videos when we just revised the forms, and now we've gone through another form revision. So some pieces of the videos are a little bit out of date. It's kind of funny how quickly that actually happens. So our students actually created a bit of a little update document as well to point out what details are actually different from the original videos. But if you're someone who likes a bit more of a dynamic tour of how the forms work, I think the videos are still quite valuable. So that's where you can find those. And so that moves us on to another very exciting update that I'm thrilled to be able to share with everyone today. We were successful in acquiring some funding for a new position at the dietetics program, which is really exciting. It's called the Dietetics Practice Educator, so we've abbreviated it to DPE, if you've seen that language floating around. So this is a new full-time role in the program, and really what we're hoping to achieve with this new role is to have a bit more of a direct link for all of you, preceptors and interns and site coordinators, for that real sort of teaching and learning support that seems to be still a little bit of a gap in terms of connecting us at UBC with all of you in your day-to-day practice with interns. So that's really exciting, and it is a brand new role, so definitely expect that we'll be updating you as things evolve along the way. And I'm also happy to introduce that Jackie Thornhill, who's here with us at the live site. There she is. I'm not sure if you can see her. Her picture's up on the slide for all of you joining us remotely. Jackie's come on board with us this year in a project manager role for this new job to really help us create what it actually will look like. And our approach to doing that is based on a couple of different sources of information. Some of you may remember that we reached out to get some stakeholder feedback throughout the year. So we had Liz De Silva working with us as a contractor on this DPE project, and she did some interviews probably quite a while ago now with some individuals, and then she also facilitated several focus groups where we tried to get as many people as we could from different areas of practice working in different modules with interns to help us understand what your needs are and what we could do with someone in this new role. So certainly that's really going to inform how we're going to move forward, is the information we got from the focus groups and the interviews. And we also have a project report that has emerged from all the work that we've been doing over the last year with Liz and our advisory committee. And our plan is to share that out to the preceptor and the dietitian community. It's not quite ready yet. It needs just a little bit more revision, but definitely you'll be hearing from me when the full project report is ready. And we'd be delighted to kind of bring you in the loop in terms of what we found out through all that feedback and some of the key priorities that were identified. So that's on the horizon. And also on the horizon, one of the things we're thinking would be great to start with is we want to get out there and connect with you. And we did get some great feedback from the focus groups, but we just want to hear a little bit more about what your needs are to refine some of the feedback that we got to make sure that as we're developing initiatives to support you better, that we're really hitting the mark in terms of what you're needing. So we're hoping to do some meet and greet sessions and actually get out to see as many of you as we can. Certainly that's a little challenging given how large BC is. So we'll try our best to see you all in person, but undoubtedly we'll be using some technology for that as well. So definitely you'll be hearing from Jackie about our plans to schedule some meet and greets. And then moving on to a few last things here. I have mentioned this before, and you've probably seen emails from me, that we've really been working on bolstering our website with some more resources. And so again, I just wanted to point out that the Preceptor tab on our UBC Dietetics website is kind of growing kind of day by day and week by week. We've now got 8 video segments posted, which are really lovely. There's a few that we just posted recently, which are a collection of many of our preceptors who kindly put their names forward to be interviewed about what makes a good preceptor, and I just really enjoyed watching them. It was very inspiring. So I do encourage you to go and have a little peek at the video segments that are just under the Preceptor Resources tab. You'll notice when you go to the website, there's a little navigation bar where you will find all the segments. And also recently, I did email this out as well, but I did post up a preceptor orientation checklist, which I'm hoping will be useful for new preceptors and seasoned preceptors, just to get a bit of a quick snapshot of some things that might be helpful to you as you're preparing to host an intern. And there's also a handout posted that deals with the topic of how to have an opening conversation when you're just starting off a placement with an intern. So we're hoping to grow that handout section as well, but that's what you'll find there right now. And then some of you may have heard of this as well. For our research module this year, I've just started a separate list, like similar to the UBC preceptor list that we already have, just as a way to connect all the preceptors that are working within the research module this year. Because it is a 39-week module, sometimes it can be a little more involved than some of the other modules. Well, certainly they're all involved to a certain degree, but we're trialing this idea of having a list to connect that certain set of preceptors to see if we can do some experience sharing and troubleshooting amongst the group. So those are some new developments in the preceptor resources front. And this is what I was mentioning before, the last resource I wanted to point out, which was the student-created resources. So this is a little screenshot of the internship resources section, which is actually under year 5. So slightly different location than the preceptor tab. And these are all the pages that were created by the FNH 480 students, so the current interns this year. And although the target audience is interns, there's some really useful stuff here. I think we just had just a little reminder to mute your mic out there at the sites, please. Okay, I'll keep going. It's a little distracting, but hopefully they'll get the hint. Anyways, Year 5 tab, internship resources. These are the student resources that I think definitely have some useful gems for preceptors as well. So I know you're all very busy, and I've pointed out a large menu of things for you to check out. But if you're curious, there's some pretty helpful stuff that these students were able to create this year, which we'll be building upon with subsequent years of the course as well. And so just to kind of end off the updates with what's coming down the pipe, we are hoping to submit a proposal for another grant to look at possibly piloting a redesign to our clinical courses in the 4th year of the dietetics program. So I say on the horizon because we have not yet applied for the grant, and it is a competitive process, so fingers crossed that will work out. But I just want to let you know that's an exciting thing that we're hoping to work on. So you'll be hearing more from us as that unfolds. And of course, you'll be hearing from us about how the new dietetics practice educator role is unfolding. So those are some major exciting things that are happening this year. And finally, just a quick mention of how to stay connected with us. I've put the link up here for our website again. I know that sometimes people have had the experience of links breaking, particularly on the internship website, because we do change content from now and again. This link that I provided here should never break because that's the main home of our site. So that's a good one to bookmark or to save if you're wanting to get back to our website quickly. And we've now sort of grown our social media presence. So definitely look for us on those various social media platforms. And if you're not already aware, there is a preceptor listserv that is meant to connect with the broad audience of those who are preceptoring. Even if you're not currently a preceptor and you just want to know what's going on, you can find the link for that on our preceptor tab as well. And finally, just if you're wanting to contact us directly, I've just put Carol and myself and Jackie's email addresses up, just with the titles of what we're all involved in this year. So that'll be a good way to get in touch with us as well. Last but not least, many thank yous to be acknowledged at this point. Certainly to all of you who are joining us today in the room and at the remote sites. Can't thank you enough for all of the hours and the really thoughtful effort that you put into being a preceptor. Our profession wouldn't survive without you. So it's just a really heartfelt thanks to all the hard work that you put in, and to make the time to come to an event today is really something special. So thank you sincerely for that. Also to our Dietetic Education Core Council, who are integral in shaping this event and helping to pull it together. And specifically, we have our Preceptor Education Committee, who is built from our Core Council, that were definitely instrumental at every step of the way with pulling this event together. So thank you to all of you. Yeah, and that's it for me.